Hey everyone, welcome to Land Investing Online, where we teach students how to profitably buy and sell vacant land. This is the simplest, least competitive, and most profitable sector of real estate. For more information, please visit landinvestingonline.com. We even have a free Discord loaded with tons of investors, successful investors, and it's free. So check out landinvestingonline.com. My name is Daniel Apke. I'm joined today with my brother and my partner, Ron Apke. How are you doing, Ron?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
So to give you guys a brief background on what we do, so we started in real estate rental properties. We got into this years ago, and we still continue to get into real estate rental properties. But we've also been through different businesses like drop shipping and Kindle publishing and blogging and other online businesses. So we got into real estate rentals before that, and we continued down that path. But I found my passion for real estate and land over the last couple of years as well. So much that I sold off my other businesses, my other online businesses. So I'm completely focused in real estate rentals and land as well in this land course. But we along the way, we were coaching other students while we were building up our land business, and we found our passion for coaching and helping others succeed and reach their financial goals as well. But yeah, our main focus right now is land, and we're continuing to grow that business. And Ron, if you want to tell us a little bit about your background in helping others and how you got to this point.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've always been in real estate. I've always been interested in real estate. I know a lot of people, a lot of older people who have been in real estate their whole life. And they're set, honestly, because they have so much equity in property and stuff like that. But I was a teacher. I was actually a high school teacher for a couple of years. I didn't particularly like the politics and all that with teaching. I love teaching in general, but just everything around teaching and everything outside of it, dealing with parents and all that stuff. I wasn't a huge fan of that. I got out of teaching. I went into sales for a couple of years and just wasn't feeling it, honestly, with sales. So we found this land business. We did a lot of real estate rental properties, like Daniel said. But then we found land and how profitable it can be. And from teaching and all of that, like I wanted to help other people do what we're doing. So that's when we've been teaching students for quite some time how to build a successful land flipping business. It's been great. A lot of our students have seen success, but that's where I come from, and excited to kind of move forward and teach some more people, honestly.
Yeah, and Ron has a background. He taught for a couple years, like he said, and then after that, he wanted to continue teaching, and that was before we did our land business. And he wanted to continue to teach, so he actually went into college coaching and has been a coach for a while. And then we got into the coaching side of land and got out of college basketball coaching. But anyways, that's some background. That's a little bit of background on us. Let's get into the show. House flipping versus land flipping. First off, I want to say before we get started, I'm not against house flipping. Actually, I think it's a good, sustainable business, and a lot of people are very successful at it. There are pros and cons with it. Like I said, we're in not house flipping, but we're in the real estate market outside of land. So we're not against really any particular area. We just think some are much, much better, especially in this date and time, what's going on in the world right now. And we'll get into more of that. So yeah, I know a lot of people are successful. I hope I don't offend anyone who's doing it, but I just want you guys to see the other insights of what we're doing in land and what our students are doing, because it's a really cool thing. But I split it up in the three categories: simple, competition, and margins. So simple part, Ron, do you want to go into land versus house flipping with the simplicity and all of that?
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest things. And house flipping is, I think it's rewarding financially. And like when you see a house go from trash to whatever, a nice house that's ready to be put on the market, I think that is rewarding in itself. Land flipping is a little different because you're not dealing with it's simple, it's fast, it's effective. We know what we're buying. So we buy land off a market and then sell it on the market. And it's simple. That's the easiest way to put it, honestly. I don't know what other way to say. House flipping, you're going to run into so many other issues with dealing with contractors, dealing with termites, dealing with all this stuff that a piece of land just isn't going to have that. There's no structures on there. There's no electric, plumbing, all that stuff that can go wrong in a house. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just not dealing with unforeseen issues with land. You know what you're buying when you buy the piece of land versus a house. or whatever you're flipping, a structure that you're flipping, you don't know exactly what's going to be under the surface or the foundation when you buy it potentially.
Yeah, and other things like along with that, things like permits, dealing with cities and counties, local enforcements and law. There's so many different things that go into flipping a house, and the process from a time frame standpoint as well is the average house flipper is probably around what, 6 months or so,
At least.
average,
Yeah.
at least I'd say, and that's if things go well. And we're flipping land, we buy it and put it on the market the day we buy it. And I think our average turnaround is about 50, 60 days. So yeah, just getting into that. And then we get into the competition aspect, especially in this day and age. I live down in Tampa, Florida. And excuse me. And I was house shopping the last few months, and I put a couple offers out there. And what I noticed, I was looking at what these flippers were buying these properties for. And it just was so competitive. These guys are buying properties for 400,000 to sell it for 500,000. And it took them 8 months to get the process finalized. And who knows the labor and all the things they put into it, and the taxes and the materials and all the work and headaches that it costs. So it's $100,000 without the actual rehab. And I was just thinking about our land business. I mean, we're buying properties for $100,000 and selling it for $200,000 over and over and over again. And we have no headaches, and we turn them quick. And it's I shouldn't say there's no headaches. There are some that come up, but very minor when you're talking about like permits and all the other things you can run into with houses. It's just so much more simple. But Ron, what do you see from a competition standpoint of house flipping right now?
I mean, just talking to these house flippers, I know you've talked to some down there when you've looked into purchasing in Tampa or St. Pete. Just talking to them, like you hear how hard it is for them to get these deals and how hard they're fighting. Like it's fighting tooth and nail to get a deal, and then they got to do all the work and make sure nothing is too wrong with it. So it's saturated. Like you said, it's going to last forever. The cream's going to rise to the top with house flipping. There are so many people who lose money in house flipping who just want to get a deal, so they take the wrong deal. But like anything, I think house flipping even amplifies it a little more. You need to be really, really good at it and really efficient with your contractors and all that to make any money, to be honest. Versus land flipping, where we are buying things at 40 to 60% of market value and reselling as is. We don't talk to sellers who are like, I have 8 other offers. It has happened. If you send a offer to a piece of land right outside of St. Pete where Daniel was or something like that, yeah, it's probably going to be a little more competitive and stuff like that, but that's not what we're targeting. We want rural land for the most part. So I think the competition, you can't even really compare it, to be honest.
Yeah, it was one of the most stressful things looking for a property here. I mean, obviously the market's hot for buyers, but I feel like the market's hot for buyers and it's hot for flippers. Like the hotter the market is for buyers, the hotter it is for flippers, because people want these nice new houses in these hot areas like Tampa. And it was just really stressful. Even like I talked to realtors, and they're just talking about how much of a grind it is right now. House flippers talk about how much of a grind it is to get these properties. It's just like Ron said, people want these properties so bad, they're overpaying for it. And a lot of them are losing money. I looked at one property, I think it was $550,000, and I toured it. And he bought it for, I think, 450. And it's been on the market, I think, almost 200 or 120 days or something when I looked at it. And the realtor came to me and he told me straight up, he's like, these sellers are desperate to get out of this deal and sell it. It's been on the market way too long. And they can't sell it for whatever reason. It was overpriced. And he's like, they would take 480,000. So it just shows there's just such a small room for error with some of these deals.
Was that the one with the dishwasher?
No.
He had a different one. And that's the thing with houses. Like he had a different one. You don't realize you make a mistake till you make a mistake. And then it's tens of $1,000s. The dishwasher wouldn't open. Was it the stove that was there or something?
Yeah, the dishwasher would open about, like, if a dishwasher opens 90 degrees, right? It would open probably like 30 degrees of that 90. So it opened 1/3 and stop. You couldn't even fit, like, not even enough to like fit a plate in the crack that you could open, because the stove was in the way. The stove came out a little bit too far and was in the way. And then on top of that, all the cabinets on this side wouldn't open either. So the guy was like, yeah, I told my contracting crew to come back and fix that, but it's not an easy fix. He was talking about completely redoing the kitchen, and he said it would cost $5,000 to $10,000 to do that. So it's just like some of the mistakes that you have, especially dealing with contractors. Contractors are all very busy, especially reliable ones right now, because everyone wants to build and they just have work. So that's another headache, is dealing with contractors. And you just, like Ron said, you don't know what you get into until you get into it.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's not incomparable, honestly. Like I wouldn't, where I am personally, if I was a contractor, I would think about house flipping. But where I am, like I can't do the hands-on stuff. I don't want to manage a bunch of people who don't work for me. They're just contractors. I would never get into house flipping. I do renovations for my multifamilies. Like I have nothing wrong with that, increasing value, long-term value. But flipping something in 8 months where you're paying, usually it's a hard money lender, correct? And like those are hard money lenders where you might be paying 15%. And it adds up every day. You're paying those lenders essentially until that deal is done.
And if you don't sell it, then you're really, I mean, you're at 15% interest plus all the origination fees and the other stuff that goes into getting a loan. And we shouldn't say never, like in this market, we would never do that,
Yep,
but
exactly.
Things hopefully will balance out. Cause I do think, I think it's cool. Like I would love to try. I've never personally flipped. We've done improvements and just rent it out and refinance and get our money out just for, to get our money out and buy other properties. But I would like to flip just for the experience. And if anyone else has any other opinions, I'd love to hear from you guys on your experience with house flipping. But that gets me into the third segment. So we talked about simplicity. Land is very simple. There's no improvements that we do on it. We buy and sell as is, and we put it on the market the day we get it, right? Now, working with counties, anything like that. The competition is very, very saturated with housing market right now. Maybe not in every market, but majority of markets, at least from the people I've talked to, it's very saturated. And then now let's talk about margins. We've briefly touched this with describing some of my experience working with house flippers down in the Tampa area. But Ron, what kind of margins are you seeing in land flipping right now?
Like from a percentage, I look at more of a dollar, look at it per dollar. So if we're buying something really cheap, and we do, obviously you don't really have houses like this where you're buying for 5,000, but if we buy for 5,000, we're going to sell for 15 to 20. I'm not going to really take a margin under that. It's not worth the time. But if you move up the price, obviously you buy for 50, we can sell for 100. You're doubling your money. And then when we get higher, like we can buy for 200, sell for 350, where those margins are great. We don't have much cost other than marketing, possibly a realtor if we use a realtor to sell the property. But other than that, there's no real cost in it. So our margins right now, I mean, it's really, they're great, I think. And we get into those bigger deals where you're buying for $600,000, $700,000 and you can sell for 1.1 million. So those are kind of what we're looking at from a dollar figure. The more expensive ones, I want to make a couple $100,000 because we are risking some stuff. You got to put a lot of money out there to make the money. But yeah, those smaller ones, we're going to triple to quadruple our money pretty consistently.
So our average between the small and big ones came out to about 130, 140% last year. So over doubling our money on average. Like Ron said, for the bigger deals, we don't always double, but that's fine. We look at it like if we're not making improvements and we're flipping it in 50 days to get our money back on average, and we've never lost money on a deal. We have never lost money on a deal. We trust that process, and we'll gladly pay $500,000 to sell it for 750, 800,000. Like we're not putting improvements and we're not putting any other money besides the land. So it's really simple in that aspect.
I don't know, honestly, what house flippers. I heard they used to buy at like 70% of MRV, ARV, sorry. But I don't know what house flippers honestly are buying them at. I'm sure it matters how much money they have to put into it. But I think a lot of it's based on the adjusted retail value. Is that what you believe in?
Yeah, that seems right. And honestly, they're also acquiring properties very similar to what they're sending letters. So we send mailers out to landowners with an actual offer, right? So if you own a piece of land in, say, Washington State, and it's between 5 to 20 acres we sent out. We'll send you a letter with a price on it and say, hey, we're looking to buy your 10-acre property in Washington, wherever the county is. And we'll have a actual dollar figure on there. The difference between that and house flippers aren't, because it's so difficult, right? You don't know what's inside. They're not putting any dollar amount on there. So they just get a mass amount of calls back and try to make something happen off of that. And a lot of times, what's that? Yeah, it's a lot of sales, a lot of calls. But we actually have a dollar figure. So that's another part that goes into the simplicity. We're not like, there's a lot of negotiation with it when people want more money or whatever, but we have a dollar, a base figure to kind of go off of, where house flippers get a call and they don't really know what to go off of. They just have to look at their software and kind of figure it out.
To put a perspective, and I don't know the numbers exactly. So we send about 20,000 mailers a month, and we have one full-time salesperson. He takes all those, and we only get calls for interested sellers usually, because we have a dollar amount, versus if you send 20,000 mailers for a house, like I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing you'd need at least 5 salespeople to take those calls, 20,000 in a month, just because they don't have a price on them generally. So I think that makes it even more valuable, because you're not paying as much money for these salespeople on your team.
Yeah. And, I'm trying to think. So they're calling, these people are calling back because there's no dollar figure on it, which means they're going to call back. If I owned a house and maybe I'm looking to move and someone gives me a letter and says they buy in cash, they close quickly, all that good stuff you get with that, I'm going to call them back just to see what I can get from them. Like, see if I can get more money than I was expecting in cash quick, So people are just trying to see what they can get when they call these people back. Whereas us, a lot of times with land, it's a lot different than a house. They don't live there, right? They don't live on rural land. So it's not really attached to them. They don't need to move out or anything like that. So they call us. A lot of these people haven't even been to the properties before. They inherited it, whatever it was. They call us back and they just want to start the process, or maybe want a little more money, or just want to see how the process works. Because honestly, these people don't even know that we exist, people buying and selling land. So they just want to see what kind of business we are. And that just shows competition wise, these people have never heard of us. They're like, do you guys just buy and sell land? We get those calls all the time, and they think it's so unique. And it's just because there's not a ton of us out there right now.
Yep. But I think that kind of covers it, honestly. So we said simplicity was the first one, competition, and then margins. And I don't want you guys to think that like we're completely against house flippers. There are house flippers that make millions and millions of dollars. It's not for us personally at this moment in this market, especially. We just wanted to kind of give you the comparison between the two, house flipping versus land flipping, what you'll run into if you're looking to get into real estate right now.
Yeah, if you're not into real estate right now, this is a great place to start. Go ahead and visit landinvestingonline.com. Just hop in our free Discord, learn about it, ask investors questions. Ron and I are very active in there. So Land Investing Online, and there'll be an area to fill out for our free Discord. And there are a ton of very successful investors in this Discord, Ron and I included. And it's a great place to start. But other than that, guys, we'll see you all next week.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.